Hey, everybody, I hope you're doing well today. Well, let's take a look at interventionist supply-side policies and understand what they are. All right, interventionist means what? Like it always does in economics. The government's going to intervene because it believes it is the best entity to increase potential output. So supply side means moving the long-run aggregate supply curve or the Keynesian aggregate supply curve outward, or you could even argue the production possibilities curve outward by getting involved in the economy. Okay, well, what do governments do? And this should be like really clear to you. And there's a lot of information you can get here. And you might want to look at like more detailed examples. I'm not going to make this video really, really long. If you have in your head that supply side policies is governments promoting education, healthcare, new technology, infrastructure, and growth policies, you're golden. Guess what? Oh, not a black star. Guess what? You just earned a gold star in understanding supply side stuff, okay? I got to give you 2. Nah, I'll give you 3. Okay? So investment in education. Why? Because more highly trained, more highly educated workforce is more easily convertible or changeable or retrainable to do other things. I am a college-educated, university-educated IB economics teacher. I have a specialty, but because of that training, because of that degree, I can more easily transform myself into some other worker than if I only had a 6th grade education. If I had a 6th grade education, I wouldn't be able to be a teacher. I wouldn't get the job. So the more highly educated your society is, the more versatile they are in the workforce, which makes them more productive in the long run, okay? So it obviously has all sorts of positive externalities as well. The more educated a parent is, the more likely their children are going to be educated, and generation after generation of generation, it works out well. Okay, so gold star. Investment in healthcare. Well, healthier people, healthier workers show up to work more often. How about that? That's good. So the healthier your society is, the more productive you will be, the more likely you will move out your supply side or your long-run aggregate supply curve, and you will produce more with the same amount of people. Your workforce will be more productive. So investments in what's called human capital result in an increase in aggregate demand in the short run, but over the long term lead to an increase in potential output by shifting the long-run aggregate supply curve in the neoclassical model or the Keynesian aggregate supply curve outward. Done. New technology. If a government decides to invest in new technology, new research and development, that is an essential piece of building the capacity in a particular country. Why? Because governments tend to have a lot of money. And governments in many countries around the world invest heavily in research and development because this provides not only outcomes from their own research, but also incentives for the private sector to engage in research and development. And these oftentimes create new technologies, which create new markets, which creates new skill sets, which creates new capacity, which creates new production possibilities, which means that the long-run aggregate supply curve has moved outward or the Keynesian aggregate supply curve has moved outward. In the short run, these things might lead to increases in aggregate demand. I get it. But in the long run, supply-side policies are benefited by investment in new technology if you're looking at things from the interventionist supply-side perspective. Done. Investment in infrastructure. This should be super obvious to you, right? Physical capital always results in making it easier for business to happen. If you've ever been to or lived in a developing nation and been to or lived into a developed nation, go to Europe. The European countries have got transportation down. Why? Because they've invested an enormous amount of money into it. Check out European ports, European trains, European buses, European taxis, European trolleys, European bike paths. The infrastructure is there so that trade can happen quickly. How about the tunnel? How about building a tunnel under the English Channel to connect the United Kingdom to Europe? You think that helps travel? That helps trade? Good night. Of course. It's a lot easier just to pack stuff up in Paris, put it on a train, and have it show up in London. Then take it to the coast, put it on a boat, transfer it, take it out of the boat, transfer it on train. Okay, so infrastructure is critical. That could be anything from communications, roads, dams, transportation, airports, ports, irrigation systems, on and on. Any public good. Pretty obvious, should be pretty obvious to you now. What about industrial growth policies? What does that mean? Well, these are policies designed to support the growth of the industrial sector of an economy. And these policies support government investments in human capital, new technologies, and infrastructure, right? So what does that mean? Well, how about that the government were to create a policy that would support small and medium-sized enterprises? Yeah, hey, how about some low-interest loans? Yeah, hey, okay. How about providing some sort of efficiency or more capital formation from the private sector? How about just promoting small businesses? The United States is an excellent provider of incentives for small businesses. Okay. The other kind of thing is like infant industries. These are newly emerging industries, and sometimes governments help them by giving them tax exemptions or grants or subsidies. And all of that will add up to growth in what they're called industrial growth policies, which will enable this new emerging markets to actually start producing things. And if you're producing more things with the same resources, of course, you've improved the quality of your factors of production, and your long-run aggregate supply curve is going to move outward. And that will create growth, and that'll create jobs, and it continues pushing the production possibilities of a country outward. All right, my friends, I hope you found that to be helpful. Interventionist supply-side policies, and I look forward to talking to you in a bit.